Hello everybody, happy Friday. I hope you're all okay. Welcome to another calligraphy session with Rosie. Today we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to do calligraphy with watercolours. That might sound a bit strange because we're used to using watercolours for paintings of landscapes and things like that. But I figured out a way that you can use watercolours to paint beautiful writing with. So I hope you're all okay. I hope you're all having a great Friday. It's really cold and windy and rainy here. Well, isn't it everywhere? So I'm quite glad to be in the warm. So I'll try and use lots of bright colours for you all today. And hopefully you can all go along with me, or you can watch afterwards. So the first thing that I wanted to say is that if you haven't seen me before, if you haven't seen me do anything before, then there is a calligraphy session that I did a couple of months back, which should be in the craft playlist on the Virtual Village Hall site. It will also be linked afterwards. So if you're wondering, if you've sort of come along today, you've not seen me before, and suddenly I'm doing fancy writing with watercolour, and you think, how on earth am I going to do this? Don't worry, I did a beginners to calligraphy session, which you can go back and watch. And if you want to, you can watch that first, have a go. And that's where we use pencils and pens. So this might be a little bit easier if you do that first. However, nothing to stop you having a go today at all. But I'm just going to show you very quickly on my camera here that we've got some fancy writing. So that's the sort of thing we're going to do today, but with paints rather than pens. And if you were to watch the first session that I did, then this is the sort of thing we'll be doing. But we'll be doing this with pencils and brush pens. So I just thought I'd let you know, if you're wondering, this is kind of what we're doing today, but we're going to do it with paints. So I'll move those over. Hopefully you can see my camera. For some reason, I'm in sort of portrait mode. I'm trying something different today, so hopefully this is all going to be fine. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use a selection of different papers. You can use any sort of paper you want, really, or card, I would say. If you were to use thin sort of printing paper, then the paper might get a bit wrinkly because we're going to put lots of water on it. So if you've got any type of card, anything you like, it doesn't have to be fancy. But I've got a few different colours today, so I can show you the different effects that they make. So I've got some craft card here, which is just like brown card, which you can get quite easily. There's black stuff, which is really nice because I've got some metallic paints here which really pop on black, which I'll show you in a while. And then I've also just got your normal white card. So they're the different cards we're going to use today. And I've got here, as you can probably see, I've got loads of different colours. So I've got one of these. So this is really cool. It's like a stackable watercolours. So they all stack together like this. They're really fun. I don't know where these are from. These were actually a gift. But the reason that I wanted to do this, the reason I was really keen to show you this, is that watercolours are very, very cheap compared to other paints. So you can go into sort of like a normal kind of craft shop like the Range or Hobbycraft, or actually they sell them in sort of places like Poundland often, and you can buy yourself a really, really cheap set of watercolours. They don't have to be fancy ones. They can be kids ones if you like. In fact, I think these ones are children's ones, and they're really, really cost effective. They last ages and they're very affordable. These guys over here, these are metallic ones. You see they're really glimmery. So I've got two sets here and I'm going to show you the difference in them. And the point is that there's not much difference. These ones were, I think, £2 and these ones were about £15. These were really expensive, fancy ones that caught my eye at a market and I thought I'd treat myself. But what I found was there's actually not much difference at all between the two. And these were, I think, £2, maybe £2.50 from the Range. So it's a really good way of making calligraphy more interesting than it already is. So I'm going to teach you two different effects today. So we've got two different ways of using the watercolours to create beautiful decorative writing. One of them is to use the watercolours to make a background, and one of them is to actually paint the writing with the colours. So I'm going to start with the background one because that's going to need a bit of time to dry before I write on top of it. and it's really, really, really easy. So essentially, I'm going to cover the whole space with water, and I'm not going to be shy at all. I'm going to completely cover it. I'm going to plonk it on. So I've got a few paintbrushes here. I'll tell you about these in a minute, because this is the sort of paintbrush we're going to use to paint the writing with. Oh, there you go. That looks better if I show you against the white there. I'm presenting it as if I was doing like a makeup tutorial where they do this. So I'll talk about these brushes in a minute when we start doing writing. But to do the background, you can use any paintbrush you want. I'm going to get a bigger one actually, because it will be quicker. So, whoa, just wheeling myself across the floor and dropping it on the floor. That's good. Good start. Okay, I'm back. So I've got a little pot of water here. You don't need loads and loads. This is just a little bowl. But we're not going to be shy with the water that we put on the paper. Now, what is going to be interesting is how well I can show you this through the camera, because it's quite hard to see water because it's see-through. Now, let's see if I can show you. Can you see? Yeah, you can kind of see. Can you see? I can almost make it drip. That's how much water I'm putting on it, is that it's enough to kind of flow along the card. So it's even dripped off the edge there. That's fine. That is the amount of water we want on our card. So I've just done that corner to begin with, because I'm going to do it section by section, but I just wanted to illustrate there how much water you want to put on your card. You're kind of completely drowning it essentially, but enough that you can control it. So I've just sort of done a quarter of the page there, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my colours. I'm going to do some metallic ones because they're really fun. And I've dunked the paintbrush in water and then dunked the paintbrush in the metallic paint. And I'm giving it a good smush. In fact, let's bring this a bit closer so you can see. There we go, look. Can you see I've like made it into like a bit of a well. It's like a little lake of metallic blue. So now I've got all of that on my paintbrush. I'm going to drop that on and you'll see it sort of spreads out. How beautiful is that? Let's see if I can show you that again, close up. Pop. And it kind of mixes and merges. So essentially, we're going to do that, but with different colours. So now I've got that blue bit on there. I'm going to try another colour. So I'm going to go in with the pink. Again, you want that sort of lake of colour. And you're mixing it in so that the water then turns the colour of the paint. Oh, lovely. And then again, you just sort of drip it in. And you don't have to be fancy with this. You don't have to be like delicate or good at painting. That's why this is great, because you don't have to there's no like real skill involved. It's just having fun and experimenting. And can you see I've started to go over more of the card with the water, and I'm going to try some other colours as I go. I'm going to try some gold. Now I'm having to be really careful here because I want to show you a bit closer up, but I also don't want to pour water all over myself. I mean, it might be that I just end up pouring water all over myself. I don't mind too much. And can you see we're getting this really lovely marbled effect? You can see where the water is and where the water isn't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep... Oh, we seem to have frozen. 1 second. So sorry. There we go. I'm going to keep moving over the paper. But what I'm going to try not to do is like mix the colours, because if I mix the colours, then they're all going to get a bit murky. So that's why I kind of left gaps of water so that I could then put some more plain water over that bit and then change colour. So there we go. I'm going to go in with the green, pop that in, and you need to get the amount of water correct. So you need lots and lots of water so it doesn't get scratchy. Because if you don't use enough water, then you see the brush marks. And we don't want to see the brush marks because we want a nice marbled effect. So what other colours are... Oh, we should probably put some purple in there, I think. Yes, very nice. And we're just going to work our way along. And you don't have to go to the edges if you don't want to. You can if you want. It's up to you. You can completely experiment. Now what will happen is, doesn't matter if how thick the card is, your paper will start to bend because it's full of water. So if you don't want to get water everywhere, you just have to be aware of that. But what's quite nice about this is the water will dry and it will leave that nice effect around the edge, which I quite like. So you can probably see, again, I'm trying not to get water all over myself. Even if you drip it around, it's quite nice. Even doing that leaves quite a nice effect. Oh, hang on, I bought some kitchen roll up here, especially. Let's get that out, shall we? Then it doesn't matter if I've dripped everywhere. Where's that gone? Here it is. So what I can do if I want to now is I can just let it run off the edge. It doesn't really matter. It will leave a nice effect. So this is quite, it's not super bright, shall we say. So I've gone for a very kind of light metallic kind of pastel-y effect. You can go as bright as you want. So in fact, what I could do is now, just to show you, is I could go in with the colours that aren't metallic, which have got a stronger pigment. And we'll see what happens there. So if I go for quite a strong colour like a red, you see my red up here, here it is. And if I was to sort of drop that in, can you see that's much brighter? You can immediately see that it's going to be a lot stronger. Now, the reason that I've gone for a sort of pastel effect is because we're going to write over the top of this, essentially. So I don't want it to be too bright, but you could certainly add more colours for sure. There's definitely space for it. It's definitely not going to affect the writing. So I'm just going to tap my brush there. You've got your lovely metallic effect. You can let it drip, you can let it slide, you can do whatever you like with it. The key is to make sure the more water, the better, because the worst thing that can happen is that you get drippy water coming off the card, and that's absolutely fine. If you don't use enough water, then what will happen? In fact, I will show you what will happen. That would be easier, wouldn't it? Because then you can see why it's important to use lots of water. So I'm going to put this one to one side. This is the one we're hopefully going to use if it dries in time. And leave that on the radiator, even though the radiator isn't on. Maybe. Wishful thinking. So if I don't use enough water, so say I just pop a bit of water on there, and I'm just like going to just paint it on. And then if I try and put can you see like it's actually making brush strokes here? Because I've not put enough water on, you're getting brush strokes rather than it being a kind of marbled effect. And the problem with that is that's going to be quite hard to merge into other colours, and you'll be left with the brush strokes rather than that kind of marbled, lakey effect. If you like the brush strokes, then that's great. Then go with the brush stroke effect, and that's okay. But if you want to go for the effect that I've just showed you, then you need loads and loads of water. Otherwise, although that's quite nice, nothing wrong with that. If you let that dry and wrote over the top, that would also be completely fine. So we've done our lovely background, and later on we'll come back to that. But for now, I'm going to show you some other tricks. This is where we're going to start thinking about actual calligraphy and writing, doing some fancy writing. So I think what I'll do is I'll start with a bit of white card, and then we'll move on to some black because that's really exciting to look at. But essentially, if you have good typography skills, or if you've seen my first calligraphy session, then you should be an absolute dab hand at writing beautifully. And all you need to do is do that with pencil and then paint over the top of it. Simple as that, right? Well, maybe. We'll see. First of all, I'm going to tell you about these paintbrushes. So these paintbrushes, I don't even know how you say it. That's how much I know about these paintbrushes. But they're called, I think it's Riga. So it's R-I-G-A. I don't know why they're called that. The other word for them is a pinstriping brush. So if any of you have ever seen, you know, those like old-fashioned American cars, they're called like hot rod cars. And they're quite like cool, and they've got cool paintings on them, often like spider webs and things like that. someone will have painted those, and it's called pinstriping. And it's basically a very, very, very long, thin brush. Sorry, I'm doing lots of wobbling. It's a very long, thin brush. And essentially, it's so that you can imagine how's the best way to describe this? If I put this black piece of paper right in front of you, if you imagine this black piece of paper is like the side of a car, and they want like a really lovely line that's very straight and thin on it, they will get a pinstriping brush and they will paint all the way along like this in one stroke. And let me tell you, if you're interested in watching things on the internet that are relaxing and enjoying to watch, pinstriping is one of them. It's amazing. It's just so relaxing to watch because they've got such a steady hand. But they use these super long, thin brushes and they just do one brush stroke. And I guess it's so that there's no like breaks in the lines. It just looks glorious. But we're going to try and replicate that today, but with writing on card. I think that's what we're going to do. So that's what these brushes are essentially. They're kind of like a smaller version of a pinstriping brush. So pinstriping is the word you would use, or riga, R-I-G-A. So these were like, I typed in riga paintbrush into Amazon, and this one with the red handle, you could buy a pack of, I think maybe like 4 or 5 of these for about £4. And they're all different sizes, but the key is that they're very long and thin. So if I compare this to like a normal brush, I'm going to stand up so I can get one like this. So if you look at like a normal paintbrush, they're kind of, I'm trying to do this so it focuses, but it's not. But can you see the difference is that the length and the thinness? And that's the key. So the point of these brushes is that they're the easiest to paint lettering with, because you're doing lots of long and thin lines, and they're quite good for doing the curves and the shapes of the letters. There is a knack to it, and that knack is lots of practice. So don't expect to get this first time, and that's absolutely fine. It's hard. It's a hard nut to crack, but I'm going to show you today the easiest way of doing it. And I think using watercolour is the most effective and cheapest way of doing it. So we're going to use one of these riga brushes, or pinstriping brushes. And again, the importance of me telling you this is that if you went ahead and tried painting calligraphy with just a normal paintbrush, you're going to have very thick, short, stubby writing, and you might not be too pleased with it. So these guys are lovely to work with. So what I'll just do to begin with is I'm going to use my calligraphy skills. I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to very faintly write something on my card that I'm then going to paint over. So first of all, if you've watched the first calligraphy session, is the whole idea of doing it in pencil first. It takes the scariness away because there's no pressure. Once you've written it in pencil, you don't need to worry about how the letters look because you've done that bit. And then all you've got to think about is the painting. So that's why this bit's great. There's no pressure, no tension, don't need to worry about it. If it goes wrong, you can rub it out. It's in pencil. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'm going to try and do it as faint as I can, but also so that you can see it. And if you can't, I'll maybe bring it a bit closer so you can see it. I'm going to write happy birthday because I can't think of anything else to write. And that's something lots of us might want to write beautifully for somebody. So first of all, I'm going to check that you can see this when I'm writing it. And if not, I might have to press a bit harder. So I'm going to go with the H first. Oh, it's quite light, isn't it? It's quite light. Can you see that H there? That's lovely, isn't it? So can you see, first of all, the first thing that I've done is I've written this quite large because I want it to fill the paper. So I'm going to press a bit harder now, I think, for you guys. Yeah, we can see that a bit better now. Still quite light. Let's just go over that H again a bit darker so that I can show you all. Okay, so there we've got our happy. Now, the point of calligraphy, if you watch the first session, then you will know that it's all about the thick and thin lines. I can't create those with a pencil, so I'm going to create those with the paintbrush, which you will see shortly. So these are just one single line to begin with. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and write birthday really quickly because I'm aware that it's quite hard for you to see it on the camera. So I'll write that as quick as I can. And then I'm going to attempt to paint it all. We'll see if we have time to do the whole thing. Depends how neat I am. Right, so there's the birthday. Not too shabby. And can you see I've filled the page. I've tried to make all the letters different sizes so that it doesn't leave sort of too much of a straight line. And I've gone quite floaty with the flicks around the edges here. That's looking good. Okay, so we've got our happy birthday. And now the next thing that we're going to do is paint it. What I think I'm going to do at this point, apologies for the wobble, but I'm going to try and bring the camera slightly closer because now that you've had your bird's eye view of us doing the background, I really want you to be able to see the detail of the paintbrush. So I'm sorry if this makes you feel dizzy, but I'm going to bring the camera slightly closer to the paper so that you can see it. Ooh. Oh, I could be a film director, couldn't I? I should be a camera woman. That was smooth as anything, wasn't it? Right, so now we've got a closer look. You're going to be able to see, in fact, let me just bring it ever so slightly back so you'll be able to see my hand. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start painting, and I'm going to show you a few different tricks. So I'm going to get my favourite brush, which is actually this one, which is, I don't even know where it's from, but again, I don't spend loads of money on brushes. There's no point. You don't need to buy fancy ones at all. So I'm going to move my metallic ones away because I'm going to save those for the black paper. And I'm going to just bring some of these colours over to, because I'm left-handed, you see, so I'm a bit awkward. I've got to get the colours over here. Right, so the point of this bit is that I'm going to show you how to paint with the paintbrush, but also what's really exciting is you can use lots and lots of colours, which is really fun. The other thing that I have to point out is because I'm left-handed, I'm probably going to start with the Y and work my way this way, because otherwise I'm probably going to smudge it all. So you don't have to do this. If you're right-handed, then you can start with the H and work your way along. I'm just doing it this way so that I don't smudge it. Also, it'll be easier for you to see so that my hand's not covering all the work that I'm doing. So that's why I'm starting with the Y. Now I might as well start with this red, seeing as it's already got some water in it. Now I'm going to get the paintbrush as wet as I got the metallic one. You want lots of paint in there, lots of water, but also you want to smush it all the way around so you get lots of colour. I know with watercolours, like landscapes and stuff, you can be quite wishy-washy with it and use quite a lot of water. This you want to be quite strong because you're just doing lines. You're just doing single lines. Now this is the moment of truth because Rosie's got to perform. And right, this is very scary. So, if you did my first class, then we worked on doing those letters in one motion. With the painting, you've already written it. You've already done the writing. You've done the hard bit. So you can take your time with the painting. You can do it in as many strokes as you want. You don't have to do it in one motion. I would say from all the calligraphy tutorials I've done in my life, just slow it right down. Because everyone goes in, they try and do the whole letter in one go and they wonder why they can't do it. And they go, why am I rubbish at this? Slow it right down. You can take all the time in the world. You can imagine that you're painting a portrait here. You can do it. You can take hours to do it if you so wish. So that's the point here, is that you can really take your time. So I'm going to start with this line here, and I know it's going to be thick. So I'm going to go down and then I'm going to stop. And then this line here is going to be thin. And what I've done is I've changed the angle of my arm to suit where I'm going to make the mark. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of patience and slowing it down, is that you change where your hand is, you change where your arm is for each section. You can even move the paper around. So I'm going to move the paper around now so that I can do this line, and this line is going to be nice and thick. I'm going to stop there because I want to move the paper. I'm going to get some more paint. I'm going to go all the way along like this, and I can really press down quite hard so I can get a nice thick line. Oh, that was enjoyable to do. And then for this bit, I'm maybe going to start here. So can you see I'm doing it quite randomly as well. So I've sort of gone from this line to this line and then worked my way from here to here. I'm all over the place, but that's fine. I'm just doing what feels right to me and the order in which feels most comfortable, because essentially you don't need to look at these as letters anymore. You're making marks, you're painting. So it doesn't matter where you go with it. In fact, I'm going to leave this little bit here. I'm going to go here a lot. It feels safe to me to go along here to this point and stop, and then continue here and then do this little flick here, and then I can finish. I'm going to turn this all the way around so that I can do this bit, because these curves are the hardest bit. There we go. So for something that is just, it's one letter, the amount of effort that I've had to put in to make it look neat and beautiful just goes to show what a lovely art form this is, because you can spend loads and loads of time on it and making it look lovely. So now what I'm going to show you, now that I've painted my first letter and I feel less scared about everything, what I'm going to show you is how you can mix the colours. So you can see here I'm going for a purple now, and I'm going to start on this P, and I'm going to show you something really exciting. So again, I'm going to start where I feel safest. So I'm going to start with this lovely thick line here. I'm pressing down really hard and then stopping. Lovely. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this thin line here, work my way down, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change colour, because we can add colours in. So I'm going to go for this sort of light blue. So Claire, as you've not you missed the start, the best thing for you to do is, if you go back, there's a link which I think is just above you, which is my first calligraphy session where we learned how to do modern calligraphy, but just writing it with pencil and pen. So if you haven't done calligraphy before, then I would make a start with watching that, and then this might become easier. And also it's really fun. And this is kind of like a follow-on, in the sense that if you really liked doing the calligraphy, then you can move on to calligraphy with the paints. But if you don't wish to watch the first one with the modern calligraphy, there's no reason why you can't apply the painting to any kind of writing. It doesn't have to be this style of writing if you don't want it to be. If you're happier with a different style or your own writing, you can do this to anything. Anything that you write, you can then go over with this watercolour and make really exciting, basically. So I've gone in with another colour, and then essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drip it onto the purple, and hopefully you'll be able to see that it's kind of like blended, so you've got two different colours. And so essentially you can mix your colours as much as you wish, and you can kind of have a bit of a rainbow effect. So I'm going in with the blue there. I'm going to work my way around with this blue. I've gone very quiet for a second there. Whoa. And then you can always add some, so if I added some red in there, can you see it sort of spread? When you drop it in, it's quite pleasing. But then you've got a kind of rainbow effect there, because you've got three colours in there, purple, blue and red. I'm just going to go over that purple bit as well, where it sort of went a bit wobbly. And so you can go over any mistakes as well with the colours, which is quite nice. So then I'm going to work my way backwards around here. I'll do some more red, and then I might try some other colours. What time are we on? Oh my goodness. Half an hour already. So when you get the hang of this, it's quite therapeutic. You can really switch off when you're doing this. And like I say, you don't have to do fancy writing. You could just do some line work. Even if you were to practice straight lines, this is really fun to do if you have watercolours and this sort of brush. So I'm going to try some pinks now. I'm just looking over at my little metallic landscape that I did and whether or not that's drying or not. I'm hoping it's going to dry in time. If not, I could show you other ways of doing things. Oh, that's lovely. So then you've got the pink on there, and then I might finish this bit off with the pink. So like I say, you're kind of like, it's like doing a puzzle really. You're just slotting it all together and doing different colours. So I might go in with a green now. And then in a sec, I'm not going to paint over birthday because there just isn't the time in the day. I would really want you to see how effective painting on black is. So I'm going to do this bit, nice thick green. Oh, that's lovely. So, whoop. And then I'm going to go around here. So it's quite wet, and that's a good thing because it means I can drip other colours into it if I so wish. So I'm just going to show you a bit closer up so you can see the kind of drip effect. I get a bit of red and then I just drop it on the green here. You see it sort of spreads out, which is quite nice. So you get a lovely multicoloured effect. Now, the really fun thing you could do, which I probably could have thought about doing, but I got too excited, is you could do it in rainbow colours. So you could start with your red and go through from your red to your orange. In fact, maybe I'll try and do that with the black paper so you can see. Oh, why does my phone keep doing this? There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this H off for you. I might do a blue, maybe do a blue from over here. This is quite a nice blue. Okay. I'm going to go straight in with a nice thick line here. So the reason that you want to do a faint pencil line with your writing is so that it doesn't show through. Because I've done it quite hard so that you can see it. But if I don't use a strong colour, then you might see the pencil line through. So just be super careful when you're if you feel more comfortable doing a nice thick line with the pencil, then rub it out till you can like only just see it, and then you'll know when the paint goes on top of it, it won't be seen through. And then I think I'm going to go from the blue to the purple. Do a nice thin line there. So the landscape one, Claire, is it's just a background that I've done right at the beginning of this session, which I'm going to write on top of in a second. It's not a landscape as such. I don't know why I use the word landscape, to be honest. It's kind of like a background almost. However, I believe there are lots and lots of craft sessions on the craft playlist. I've certainly done a few. If anyone's interested, I've done like plant pot painting, I've done plate painting, I've forgotten what I've done so many, but there's lots and lots of craft stuff on there to watch. There's loads of great stuff. Okay, so I've done the happy. That's looking good. And you've got loads of colours in there. So now you know you just need to sort of make sure you use lots of water. You can drip in colours over the top of other colours and it will sort of spread out. It'll go blob. It's quite nice to watch. And I've got my thick and thin lines in there. And there was no pressure because I was just painting over the lines that I'd already done. So that's really fun. So you can experiment with that. You can use all the colours or just a couple of colours. Even if you use a range of the same colour, so if you use like a selection of blues, it's still gonna work. It will still look lovely. You'll still notice those differences. So that's essentially calligraphy with watercolour. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing again, but on the black. I'm going to do it on the black paper, but with metallic colours because it looks amazing. And like I say, you can still get metallic watercolours quite affordably. So what I'll do is, I think to make life easier, I'm just going to write my name really quickly. I'll do it quite big for you and see if I can paint over that quick smart for you. Okay, you can kind of see that because there's like a sheen on it because it's black. So I've written Rosie on there. And again, the pencil line's there. I don't need to worry about anything else now other than painting over it. So I'm going to use some of these metallics, which are sort of just in shot here. In fact, let me move this green out of the way. It's the only problem when you've got tons of paint out. Just not enough space. Okay. Get my paintbrush, my trusty Riga / pinstripe brush. And then we're going to go in with metallic. So I'm going to do a selection of the expensive ones and the cheap ones, just so you know that it really doesn't matter what sort you get. I mean, I'm glad I treated myself to these guys, but I didn't need to. So I've started with some gold, and I'm going to do a nice thick line and here. And again, I've done it in 2 sections because my arm didn't want to kind of go all the way down. This is the thing, you kind of listen to your body and the way that your hand wants to go and the way that your arm wants to sit. And then if you listen to it, you're more likely to not make mistakes. Just going over that a few times so it's not as wobbly. And this is the other thing as well, is with your thick and thin lines, if you go a bit wrong, you can just keep going over it. Oh, that is lovely. How nice and poppy is that gold? This is why the black paper works really nicely, because it just really looks lovely. And if you imagine, if you can get the hang of this, imagine the possibilities at Christmas. Oh, you could make tags. All you'd need to get is like a pack of black paper, which you could get from anywhere. You can get a pack of black paper from like Wilkinson's or something like that for like £1. And then you could cut these up into little bits and write everyone's names on them with these. So I'm just going over this with the pink now. So again, I'm mixing the colours. Going around that bit. Looking good. And then the other thing is, it doesn't matter how many times you go over it. Oh yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Beautiful. And then, okay, shall we try let's try one of the fancy ones. I'm going to try this fancy purple. I think the blue of the expensive ones looks really lovely. So we'll do some of that as well. But really, you can barely tell the difference. Okay, so I'm going to do this lovely thick line here. So the purple, okay, there we go, that's better. Now I've gone over it again. It's a bit brighter, isn't it? Some of these are kind of iridescent as well, which is really lovely. And then I'm going to go down like that. So there's definitely kind of a confidence with the steadiness of hand, I have to say. That is something that I have had to master over the years. But if you stick with it, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Because it is quite scary. So now I'm going to try this fancy blue. How are we getting on for time? Oh, okay. Just making sure I've got enough pigment, nice colour in there. So I'm doing this S. S's are quite difficult because they're curved. So again, you might want to sort of change the angle that your arm is in, or your hand, or you want to move the paper around. Oh, these colours are beautiful, aren't they? It's really nice with the metallic ones as well, because as you're painting, it kind of looks like it's like a glittery lake moving around. It's gorgeous. I'm trying my best to do this as neatly as possible without moving it too much so that you can see me doing it. But if I wasn't on camera, this paper would be moving around like no one's business, I promise. But yeah, you can really take your time, go over it as many times as you want. That's looking good. Very nice. So now we might change colour again. What colour now? Maybe I'm going to go for this light green because that'll look nice against this blue. Now, let's try and do this lovely thin line. Ah, you see, I've just added the green there. That kind of splash, that was beautiful. And again, I'm not doing it in the right order. I'm just going with the way that I feel comfortable with my hand. That's looking good. So then I'm probably going to do this thick bit, a different colour. Might go with this sort of yellow. The reason that these metallic inks look quite grubby is because I let my 5-year-old have a go at doing some painted calligraphy. Now, let me tell you, she was amazing at it. And the reason why is because she's got the confidence of a 5-year-old. So whilst you're doing this, just imagine you're a 5-year-old, not a care in the world. They believe they can do it, so they can do it. It's a really joyful thing to watch. That's looking good. So now we're just going to finish with the big R. So what colour shall we do now? I'm going to try this orange over here. Not done any orange yet. We have got some gold at the end. I think I did say I was going to do this in rainbow colours, and I did not. Sorry about that. Not to worry, it all still looks good. You can do it in whichever order you wish. Okay, let's try. I'm going to do the big line at the edge first and see what that looks like. Okay, definitely going to need some more paint on that one to make it pop a bit more. Nice thick line. Lovely. I might just go over that one more time so it really pops. That's better. I think I'm going to change colour now. I'm going to try the yellow that's next to it. In fact, look, I can get this, actually pick it up. Oh, they look like jewels, don't they? Kind of like they look like I should be presenting them to royalty or something. But no, they're just well, this one was expensive, but these guys, they were only a couple of pounds. Okay, let's see what this looks like. I'm going to do the thicker bit of this side first. Oh, that's quite nice. Hopefully, even if you're not having a go at this, hopefully this is just quite nice and relaxing to watch. I do like watching calligraphy videos. I do find it quite therapeutic. There's quite a lot of that sort of stuff on TikTok, I find. And I did try to do a few TikToks of me doing this sort of thing. Not painting, but like just handwritten calligraphy. And I just found the whole process quite long-winded because you have to sort of edit it and add music and captions. It took forever. It took about half of the day just for sort of like a 2-minute video. So doing it this way is much better because I just get to sit here live talking at you, having a go. You guys watch me, and then it's available afterwards. I find that much less time consuming than having to edit things. Okay, I've just gone in with the green here. That's nice. Oh, look, lovely. And then I can mix those colours in there, look. Blend those in together. In fact, I might put some drips in this bit. Beautiful. So then what I'm going to do just to finish off this piece, so you can see there, and it's lovely and iridescent. Can you see the sort of shine on it? Oh, lovely. So then what you might do is you might go a bit freehand and you might add some embellishments on there. So I'm going to use some, I've not used any silver yet at all. So I'm going to use some silver. And what I might do is just do some kind of lines to kind of embellish it. Really simple. Just adds an extra something. Wow, that silver is really lovely. Like that. You could do some swirls as well, although swirls are quite difficult. Let's try this purple again. So you could do a kind of, let's have a go. Again, you kind of have to decide which way you're going with it. You can add to it if you want. That's quite nice. I might do some more straight lines. Let's do this colour. I've not done this yet. What's this? It's like an icy blue. Do some lines around this letter. Lovely. And so I think probably what it needs is, oh, maybe a couple of stars. Do some little sort of snowflakey stars. That would look good. What colours do we need? Maybe a pink. Let's do a pink. So I'll do a few stars over here. Just doing these sorts because you can be as simple as you want, simple but effective. And then I might do a few that are a bit smaller. And then I'm going to do the same thing over this side, but maybe with a different colour. Let's do this green here. I do like this green. I'm drawn to this green today. I wonder why. It's funny, isn't it, how you're sort of drawn to different colours on different days. Okay, I'll just do a couple more. Oh, I keep bashing the camera. So sorry. With my little brush. Sort of like moved over to a different side with my head. There we go. Oh, beautiful. I just feel like it needs one more wiggle. Do you reckon? We'll just put one more wiggle on it? Why not? Do I want it? No, I've got silver there. Now this is my problem, isn't it? I get too carried away with colour choices. Okay. So, do a wiggly line here. Looking good. I might just add that bit there. Beautiful. I think that's pretty good. Quite happy with that. So there you go. There's another option with metallic watercolour. All I've done is written it onto the black paper and then painted over the top of it. I've just tried to remember my thick and thin lines. Again, the thick and thin lines are something we talked about in the first calligraphy session if you want to rewatch that. But if not, you could just write whatever you fancied and just had a go. Super, super simple. You just need water and watercolours. Okay, I'm going to put that to one side. So we've got I've showed you the watercolour on the white card, and then we've done the metallic watercolour on the black. I've also got some craft paper here. So what I wanted to show you very quickly is one more option. And again, I'm not going to go too crazy here. It's just another option for you to go with if you so wish, is painting. So this is a bit more standard that you've probably heard of, is using ink. So I've just bought some standard India ink black. This stuff's quite cheap. This will go a really long way. The reason that I wanted to show you this is because ink has a slightly different consistency to watercolour. It's kind of, I don't want to say thicker, maybe it is thicker, but it's definitely got a different feel to it. So I always, when I'm teaching calligraphy in person physically, I always encourage people to try watercolour and ink, because if you don't get on with one of them, you might find you get on with the other one, because they've got different consistencies. And I think that because every hand is different and the way in which you move that hand works differently, you might find the flow of different consistencies of liquid easier or harder. So I'm just going to show you very quickly. What shall I write? I need a short word, don't I? Shall I write? I'll write joy. That seems like a nice word to write. I'll see if I can go through that as quick as possible, because I do want to show you very quickly how we might finish off our watercolour paint. Let's have a look. It's nearly dry. It's still quite damp, but I can just show you very quickly how you might go around covering that. So again, very simple. You don't need water with your ink. You just need your paintbrush. But it's exactly the same thing, really. It's just, like I say, the consistency is slightly different. And it kind of, I think the difference with ink is that it feels more permanent. With watercolour, like I say, you can kind of go over it again and again, because it's I guess because it's got lots of water in it, it's sort of diluted. So for example, I'm not very happy with the thickness of this end bit here, so I'm going to have to figure out how I might thin that out. So I might come around and get this bit a bit thinner. That's slightly better, and then I might go over this and make that slightly thicker to make up for it. But you can see the same rules apply. I'm not doing this in order. I'm doing it in the way that I feel most comfortable. I'm going to turn this round now so that I can do this bit here and feel safe doing it. Some bits you feel safe doing in one motion. Some you've got to do like really quite a few times. Curved motions are quite difficult, I find. Like it's like the paintbrush doesn't want to do it. That's why these paintbrushes are great, because if you were trying to do these curved lines with a normal paintbrush, you'd really struggle. So also with the ink, it's like I don't think you have to use as much of it as well, because it's very thick and you know, the pigment is very strong. So that's also quite nice, because you don't have to worry about, you don't have to dip your paintbrush in quite as much. You don't have to use as much. You don't have to think about colours at all. But also the other reason I wanted to show you this is how lovely it looks on this craft card. It's really, really lovely. And again, this would be really nice for gifts if you were doing tags. Or the other thing that you can do, or cheeky little plug, next week I'll be back here doing a wrapping paper session, decorating wrapping paper, and I will be teaching you how to decorate wrapping paper that is of this colour. And I might stick a bit of calligraphy in there. So watch this space if you're available. So there's your black on craft card. That looks quite nice. Again, you can add some embellishments if you so wish. So you might do a few little cheeky little stripes. Look quite nice. Might go around, or maybe this bit as well. Yeah, let's go around this bit as well. There you go. Simple, simple, simple. So that's why I wanted to show you the ink. I feel like that didn't take as long either. Again, because you're not having to dip the brush quite as often. You're not using the water. You're just dipping your paintbrush into the ink, and it goes quite a long way. And it's quite a strong pigment. And like with inks, your standard black ink is going to be the cheapest option. I think this was probably about £2. This guy with the spider, very popular brand. You'll see this everywhere. But you can get loads of different types of inks. You can get loads of colours. You can buy neon inks, which are quite fun. They're really exciting to play with. They're just a time. So yeah, ink is another option. If you're really struggling with the water, then give an ink a go. Try that, because the consistency is slightly different. So there's that one for you. So now let's have a look at our little marbled background and see how that's getting on. Starting to dry. Is it dry enough for me to show you? I think just about. So this background, beautiful. We've got a lovely metallic shiny background. So you've transformed a simple piece of white card into something beautiful. And now what you can do is you can write over the top of it. And the great thing about this is you don't need to use the paintbrush if you don't want to. You can use your trusty brush pen, which we used to learn our letters in the first session. If you didn't see the first session, a brush pen is a pen that mimics a paintbrush, and it enables you to write in a calligraphy style much easier. So this means there's no paintbrush or paints involved. You've done your background bit, that's the painted bit, and then you can do whatever you want with it. So I'm going to do something really simple. Again, I might just write, what have we done? We're doing hello. I might just write hello. Should we just write hello? This is still slightly damp, so we'll see how we go. You'd preferably want to wait till this is completely dry. So I'm going to go over this in pencil and just write something. Write hello. Don't know if you can see that. Just about. It's quite hard to see with the metallic. I'm going to have a go with this pen. My pen is running out because I use them so often. And I'm going to work my way backwards again because I'm left-handed and I want you to be able to see it. But that's why this is really simple, because I can literally write it with my pen. Oh, look at that. Easy peasy. Now this is definitely not dry enough to be doing this. I would like you to wait longer if you're doing this, please. And you can see like it's getting a bit scratchy with the pen because it's still a bit wet, but I can just about get away with it so that you can see it. But yeah, this is a really quick option because if you remember, it really didn't take me very long to throw a bit of water at this card and then just drop some lovely metallic bits of paint on. And then if you're used to these pens, then this shouldn't take too long at all. So this is a really quick craft that, again, really good for sort of like tags, cards. These would make great gift cards, wouldn't they? Or like placemats for parties, that sort of thing. And these pens are quite cheap as well. They are about £2.50 to £3. This is the Tombow. Tombow is the brand. I'll show you in a second when I finish writing this. I'll show you the pen in close up. There you go. Simple, simple. So the pen is a Tombow. Oh, the glare on that is terrible. So sorry. There's a Tombow, and this word here, which I cannot say, it's Fudenosuk. And we do talk about this quite a lot in the first calligraphy session. I'm fairly sure we've got links to it and that sort of thing, but you can get them on Amazon, you get them from Hobbycraft, you get them from anywhere really. It's Tombow Fudenosuk, and it's like a small brush pen, and they're really great to learn calligraphy with because they've got a really stiff nib, which makes it a lot easier to do the fiddly bits. So that's the brush pen I use for absolutely everything. I think they're wonderful. A lot of brush pens are quite big and quite faffy, and they go everywhere. So these guys are great. So that's why I wanted to show you this. That's why I did the background first, so we had enough time to let it dry slightly. You don't have to paint over the top of it. You can just do it with a pen. How simple. And again, you could do as much or as little as you want, so you can always add some stuff. I tell you what I think we should do. I feel like we should add some like foliage. I think that would be nice. Really simple foliage. I kind of was wanting this to be kind of just nice and relaxing to watch, even if you didn't want to have a go. So hopefully this was relaxing, even though I was ranting over the top of it. Just because I know that those kind of calligraphy videos are quite popular just to watch and see where your hand's going. It's nice and relaxing. I probably should have tried to whisper all the way through this, but I don't have the ability to whisper, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry. What else could we do? I'm trying to think of some of that. Oh, maybe we could do some flowers around in this corner. Be nice. There we go. So again, very, very simple. You could do this on a bigger scale. They don't have to be. So this is A5, so half of an A4. The black one that I did was on a piece of A4. And that was with the metallic watercolours. The craft card one with the ink, that was on a piece of A4, although I only wrote one word, so I probably could have cut that down quite easily. And then this one, the happy birthday, we never got around to the birthday. That was on a piece of white A5 card. So I would say definitely try and use card rather than paper, because paper will crinkle. This one, you can see it's not fully flat, like it's quite wobbly. And that's because it's still not fully dry yet. And when it is dry, it probably won't dry flat. So if you were going to use it, if you need it to be flat, then wait till it's fully dry and then stick it between some books in a bookshelf for a couple of days to let it flatten out. But yeah, you also want to wait until the paint is fully dry before you write on top of it, but you don't need to use paint. You can just use a brush pen or even a marker pen. In fact, I'm going to show you that very quickly, just so that you know that you've got the option. I'm just going to get come on, Rosie, where are your Sharpies? I've got tons of Sharpies. So very quickly, I'll just show you this. I've got a normal Sharpie, something that most people have. And if you want, I'm just going to go under the bottom here. So I'm just writing hello in a calligraphy style. and then I can add the thick bits in afterwards. So this is called faux calligraphy, and that's essentially where you're just writing the letters and adding the thick bits in afterwards. So there you go, you can even do it with a Sharpie. Beautiful. Simple as that. So I think I've done enough painting for one day. What do you reckon? Let me just show you very quickly what we've done today. We've painted our background on white card. We've used lots of water. If we don't use lots of water, then it can be quite scratchy. And we're just going to drip the metallic or normal colours on top and make it wishy-washy, look quite marbled, and then we can leave that to dry. Once that's dry, you can write over the top with pencil and then go over that with either a brush pen, Tombow Feu de Sucre, or a Sharpie and add the thick bits in afterwards. And then we've gone from that to our multicoloured calligraphy. So that's using normal watercolour. And then what we've made sure we've done is when we've got to sort of wet bits on each line, you can drip other colours in so that you've got a mixture of colours. And then we've got our metallic on black. Again, we've mixed those colours in. We've dripped different colours in there. I really love that gold into the pink. That's lovely. And then we've added some embellishments at the end. And then if you're not into the watercolour, you can try your hand at some ink because the consistency is slightly different. So you might find you get on with that better. And that's just standard black India ink. And that's on some craft card. And then, oh yeah, that's it. That's your lot. We've done it all. We've completed calligraphy with watercolour. Tick. Massive tick to everyone. Right. I think we're done. I'm going to stop faffing with bits of paper now. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Like I said before, if that felt like a lot and you didn't know what I was talking about, please, if you have a chance, watch my first calligraphy video. The link is up on here. It's also in the playlist for crafts on Virtual Village Hall. And I will see you again soon. I'm going to do decorating wrapping paper next. I have completely forgotten when it is, but it is soon. Please keep your eye out. I'll be back soon. My name's Rosie. Hope you have a lovely weekend. And thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.